Hi everyone. In today's lecture, we're going to be talking about curriculum. So just to kind of get us started, wanted to discuss important teaching considerations on the first few slides. So slides 3, 4, 5 are going to talk about important teaching considerations. So this one is just a quick one, and really what today's lecture is going to be focused on is different kinds of curriculum approaches, and the most important thing is thinking about children as active learners, and they need active opportunities to learn as well as active movement. Children need to get their bodies moving, and learning can happen through movement. And really the most important thing, if you only take away one thing from today's lecture, is that play is the best. Play is what is going to help children to learn, and this is really the most important teaching consideration. So there's a quote here by Mr. Rogers that play gives children a chance to practice what they are learning, and this is very much true and the main focus of really everything that we're going to be talking about today. And if you only gather one thing from the entire semester, it's that play is the best and play is extremely important. On this slide, we're going to be looking at facilitating children's learning. And so there's a little chart here, as you can see, child initiated, adult initiated, child directed, and adult directed are on the outsides. And then as you can see here, the highlighted sections of free play and guided play, those are going to be the more desired aspects of play that we are leaning towards, and thinking about balancing children's learning while being able to give them opportunities to have freedom and not being too directive or rigid in our structure. And so the link below gives you great information about the utility of free and guided play. So go ahead and take a peek at that. Really what free play is, it's a child initiated and child directed play. So they are determining what we're going to be doing, when we're going to be doing it, how we're going to be doing it, who it's going to be with. So this is what free play is. They have full reins to dive into the play in whatever way makes sense for them. And then with guided play, we see that it's still child directed, but it's more adult initiated. So adults are setting up the room ahead of time. They're setting up different types of materials that can be used. So this is often guided play is when we think of activity time. So I'm setting up activities for children, and children can come over independently, so they can still direct when they would like to come and join within that time frame. They still have opportunities to use materials in their own ways. They have freedom to do this. Now, during this time, I can still guide play by providing children with open-ended questions and prompting their learning, scaffolding them, playing with them, giving them opportunities to test and try things out, explore their cause and effect, and still playing alongside with them. I'm just guiding them in knowing what kinds of materials and opportunities are out there and how they can potentially be used, but I'm not going to say that they have to be used in any certain way. I may make suggestions and say, this is how I'm going to do it. How are you going to do it? Tell me a little bit about more of what you're designing or what your ideas are. So we're working as a team here. The adult is setting things up, getting things prepped for the children, and then we're allowing that free flow again. Like I said, free play and guided play both allow for freedom of expression and use of materials. So again, that balance is happening. And then when we're looking at adult directed and adult initiated specifically, we're seeing that these types is a little bit less advised. And the reason behind this is that in co-opted play, adults are telling children exactly what to do. And so although this is more child initiated, I'm telling children exactly what we should be doing, how we should be doing it. I'm often taking over the play, and so a child may initiate that they want to go and play in the sandbox, but I may say, well, we have to build a sandcastle, and we have to use the shovel and the bucket to do this, and we have to only use 1 cup of water, and we both need to make sure that we're pouring at specific lengths from, where we're standing to ensure A, B, and C. And so I'm very specific in telling telling children what to do, how to do things, all of that. So yes, we are playing together co-optedly, but I'm directing everything. And then With direct instruction, we see that this is fully adult initiated and directed. And so the adult is setting up the environment, the materials, and telling children what to do. And so we see that this happens a lot with craft time. So I am planning out a craft, and although I may have ideas behind this craft that are fun and exciting, there are often less opportunities for children to be able to create on their own and try things out and have freedom in what they'd like to do, because I'm doing everything already for them. I have a model of what the craft should look like. I have specific steps of how we're going to go about making this craft. And so oftentimes we can misinterpret opportunities for children to be engaged and have freedom when we are using direct instruction. And we might not know how to create opportunities for children to use materials freely and independently when we are used to direct instruction, or we don't know how to create opportunities for freedom of materials because we have our own ideas about what direct instruction or free play looks like. So sometimes some of these terms can get mixed up, and we may think that we are doing guided play when actually we're doing direct instruction. And so just having knowledge of these different types of ways that we can create play for children are important to kind of set the stone. So it really does think about the importance of how free play and guided play are more desired when considering the needs of the children and looking back at the developmentally appropriate practices that we discussed on the previous lecture. So again, check out this article for more. So lastly, for our important teaching considerations, we want to think about choosing carefully the activities and the experiences that we create. So activities and experience paired together are curriculum. And so we think about children's interests and how those are extremely important in what types of experiences and activities we're going to provide. We also need to consider children's developmental needs and how those can be met through activities and experiences. So looking at what types of goals and objectives we might set for children and how they not only pertain to developmental areas, but also they pertain to what children like and what they could want to know based on their interests. And so again, meeting developmentally appropriate practices, considering all of those key areas, is going to be an important consideration for teaching. And we also want to think about facilitating learning and making decisions on how to support children through play and experiences. So again, play is key, and there's different ideas on what curriculum looks like, and that is that we might see curriculum as just specific activities and lesson planning. We also might see that curriculum is really geared towards focusing on play-based learning. And when children are playing, this is when curriculum is happening. Some people also view curriculum as not just activities and experiences related to play, but experiences related to daily routines and considering the behaviors of teachers as well as the classroom tone. So there's many different things that might be valued and important in curriculum. And so again, there's different ideas about what curriculum is, and we're going to be talking today about different curriculum approaches and how they might hit on one or more of these areas. Specifically for what we're doing in this course, we are going to be focusing on play-based learning as the curriculum, but there are other approaches that you might feel are best for what you would like to do or stick out to you. So just be thinking about that as we are learning today. When we're thinking about curriculum, it's important to think about how theory and curriculum are connected and how curriculum comes from theories that we believe and we feel are important to us. So I was mentioning that you might want to think about what's important to you and what kinds of theories and practices you already know about and believe in and feel resonate with you, and this can drive your understanding of what type of curriculum fits best for you. And so we know that play is important and that We can see that through constructivist and progressive education, they also value the notion that play is important. And we think about how learning comes from teachers directing and leading. This focus is more behavioral or direct instruction. And so, again, direct instruction is more of a behaviorism or behaviorist approach, whereas constructivism is more about active participation. So this comes from Piaget, active participation through learning, hands-on experiences, and then we also see through progressive education with John Dewey. This is more focused on real-life experiences, some levels of control, but really an opportunity to participate in a larger society, and children are more self-determined. So I've included different links for you to look at the different types of education models or theories that often guide various curricular approaches, and so just kind of considering what sticks out to you. So on this slide for curricular approaches, just wanted to revisit again what we were discussing on the previous slide and the slide related to guided play. And so we see that children's play should be guided by education models or developmental theories, and really this is a particular way of implementing activities based on our understanding of these models or theories. And we're again going to be heavily focusing on play-based learning, so our interactions with children and how we can incorporate guided play into our interactions and our curriculum. And we also are going to be thinking about child-initiated aspects of play. So just to preface what we're going to be discussing throughout the next few slides, as well as the next lectures that we're going to be learning about this play-based approach and that implementation of activities, interactions with children, and guidance that we provide to them. On this slide and the next slide, you'll see different ways in which curricular approaches vary, and we see this one through the role of teachers. So how are teachers scaffolding and facilitating learning? Are they using more of a direct instruction approach? Are they more hands-off, or are they more hands-on? So really, how do they facilitate learning? What is their role in guiding children? Are they guiding children, or are they simply directing? Is the play completely led on by children and teachers are just letting children do what they want, or are they more hands-on and interactive? We also see the role of the children. So how are children participating in their own learning? Do they have choice in what they would like to do, or is this decided on by the teachers? We also see the classroom structure and the role of the classroom. Is it more free-flowing and allowing children to come and go as they please, or do we see more rigid structures in the classroom environment based around specific timing, specific space, and specific usage of materials? So again, there's that divide in more free-flowing versus more rigid in the role of the teachers, the role of the children, and the role of the classroom. And then we also are again thinking back to those curricular approaches based on theory. So for our curriculum focuses, are we primarily hitting on different developmental domains? So do we have curriculum that is solely geared towards the arts or literacy or dramatic play, or do we integrate all different kinds of domains in our curriculum? Are we working on specific curriculum that focuses on theories such as with John Dewey and life skills, and how he really emphasized social studies as learning about democracy and becoming a member of society? So there's different ways that we are thinking about approaching curriculum. And then on the next slide, we see that there are two different types of curricular approaches. And you can look at the little graphic to kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. So there's play-based and then academic-based. So our play-based curriculum, which is what we're going to be focusing on for our course, is more guided towards child-centered learning and building leadership and social skills of children and being able to dictate and have choice in what they would like to do, how they would like to do it. And this idea of play-based learning is more geared towards the process of learning. as opposed to academic-based learning that is more about the product, outcome, or the correct answer. And then last but not least, play-based learning focuses on having academics built into the curriculum. So we are playing while learning about literacy, while learning about mathematics, whereas in academic-based, we are seeing that this is more teacher-centered and children are following the leads of the teachers, and we're heavily focusing on direct instruction from teachers related to developmental areas of academics with mathematics and literacy. And again, this is more about the the product and specific outcomes rather than the process. On this slide, we're going to talk about efficacy. So this is basically just our quality of success or production, so results of curricular approaches. And so we're looking at, again, approaches and theories that you consider and how they matter. And like I mentioned earlier, we are heavily focusing with our curriculum approach on play-based learning and having an understanding of outcomes for children based on developmentally appropriate learning and practices, which we've already discussed, and having an understanding that children do as well or better in academics when they have play-based curriculum. So again, thinking about how play and development are connected through learning, and children have been shown to have higher results on academics or do just as well as their peers who are engaging in more direct instruction, and they have a better enjoyment and overall motivation towards school as opposed to children who are solely in direct instruction environments and with that kind of teaching. And so it often has the opposite effect when children are only provided with experiences related to direct instruction. They have higher levels of emotional disturbance and stress, as well as increased misconduct and behavioral concerns. So as I mentioned, we're primarily going to be focusing on the importance of play-based curriculum and how it supports children in many different ways. So on slides 11, 12, and 13, you'll see different examples of curricular approaches. So feel free to kind of poke around, look at the videos, look at the article links, and this is going to show you a variety of different approaches and models. So on this slide, you'll see Montessori and Bank Street. On slide 12, you'll see High Scope and the project approach. And then on slide 13, you'll see Reggio Emilia. So I'm not going to say any more. This is just going to be a quick, here's what's on these slides, and it's going to be your responsibility to kind of poke around and explore for yourself the different examples of curricular approaches. Again, we are considering in this lecture your own ideas and beliefs and understanding based on what's out there, gathering information, figuring out what feels right to you. And so that's why I want to give you the chance to look at different examples of what you might see in curriculum based on the programs that you could potentially work in. And so go ahead and take a peek at that. Now that you have had the chance to look at examples of curricular approaches, this slide is going to be our last one on different types of programs. And before I forget, I'm also going to be posting a PDF with different curriculum models and principles, and so you'll have access to that, and it's going to be used for your next homework assignment. So make sure that you take a peek at that. So it's curriculum models, principles, and that's going to be just more detail on the different examples of curriculum approaches that we were looking at on the previous slides, and it has a few additional ones, so it just goes into more detail on what the programs entail and what they have as their set core principles. So make sure that you review that as well as this lecture for this week. And then, like I mentioned, this slide is our final one to wrap up for the day or evening whenever you're watching this. And there's information on your text in more detail about different types of programs that you might see, and you're always welcome to look up CSUSB Infant and Toddler Lab School and the Children's Center to get a little bit more information on center-based care. So we have 2 centers on our campus that provide center-based care. And so we'll talk more about TK in our last lecture on assessment, but you'll see here we have center-based care, family child care, and then public school programs. And like I said, we'll talk more about TK or transitional kindergarten when we get to our assessment lecture. So I hope you enjoyed today's lecture. Again, it is a little bit more on your own to review and look at the materials for this week. So of course, if you have any questions, please let me know, and I will talk to you next time. Bye, everyone.